Where do you two currently sit on the Hawkins transfer news?
Go on, Rich. I'll let you go first on that one.
I didn't know a lot about him. At first, I thought it was Ollie Hawkins, and I thought, blimey, we got him from Brentford. He'd be good, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
And then I had a look around. I looked on the YouTube, and there was a Pompey fan had posted a video of all his goals, and he looks quite handy. You know, get the ball in the box. He's 6'5", looks good in the air, which you would expect. Look. It is what it is. Let's see what he can do. Let's not judge him before he's come in the building. You know, I think he ticks both boxes now with a salary cap. He can play centre forward and he can play centre half. So he's versatile. Yeah, I'm all for it. I know Martin's a bit meh, but
you could say that. You could say that again.
Yeah, I agree with Rich, 100%. I mean, I remember when he was at Dagenham scoring goals in the National League. I think he got something like 18, 20 goals in. I think we were looking at him, weren't we, when we were looking at Kiefer Moore? And even then, we would have said, who the hell was Kiefer Moore? And look how he's done since. He didn't really set the world alight at town, but for whatever reason, they got the best out of him at Rotherham. And they went, was it Barnsley after that? And he went Wigan. And now he's a Welsh international. I mean, who would have thought that? He looked like a competition winner to me when he first signed for us. But yeah, 100%. And I think, you know, that utility option, he's a striker and he can play at the back. And he said in interviews, you know, I'm really comfortable playing in defence, would like to do more of it. So maybe that's part of Lambert's thinking. You know, now we've got this reduced squad and we've got the salary cap here, whatever your thoughts are about that, it's good to have people in utility roles. And he's good from the penalty spot. He won them the Johnson's Paints, didn't he, from the spot, I believe.
Yeah, I believe it did. And I think maybe the pair of you combined there are probably right in terms of Lambert's style of thinking. And maybe that's why it's been delayed in terms of announcements. We know some Twitter accounts have tweeted it's done, it's dusted. But maybe it's waiting on a couple of things further up the food chain to get things moving. I would just question, and I'd obviously welcome Freddie's thoughts on this. If he's coming in as a centre half, why aren't Portsmouth, who have just lost Burgess to Belgium, why aren't they looking at him more seriously in the centre half role? And if he's coming in as a striker, his stats for me they don't scream. I know we're talking more or less the old-fashioned sort of second forward, but 11 games, 4 shots, 0 goals, 0 assists.
He played 7 games last year at centre back, didn't he? But the season before, I think he got 7 goals. He got 9 assists. I don't think he's going to be a starter. I think it's a good option to have off the bench. And it's important with the size of him, you've got to get the quality of ball in, you know, from set pieces and crosses. Because if you watch them highlights, you get the ball in the 6-yard box or around the penalty spot, he'll get his head on them, you know.
But will he? Because I'm sure Portsmouth have been getting balls in the box. I mean, he's not being in the side because Ellie Harrison, the guy we've sold Portsmouth.
If it's all about opinions, Martin, it's all about opinions, you know.
Obviously, certainly is. Well, I tell you what, I'll jump out and Mr. Freddie Webb can jump in, and you two can entertain Mr. Webb. Mr. Webb, welcome into this evening's stream.
How's it going? You're all right.
Very well. Thank you for joining us. Ollie Hawkins, what are your thoughts? And obviously, there's the guys. Far away.
How you doing, Freddie?
I'm doing very well, thank you. It's nice to be on here. With Ollie Hawkins, solid squad player. If you want to look at his stats properly, don't look at last season, because as much as he played as a centre half, he's not a centre half. You don't want him to be playing centre half for you. In 2 years ago, when Portsmouth lost in the playoff final to Sunderland, he was our main striker. And in the system that Kenny Jackett played, he was integral to it. He gave the space to allow Jamal Lowe at the time and Ronan Curtis to score all those goals. Even though you look at his individual stats, I think in all comps 2 seasons ago, he got 10 goals and 9 assists, like you mentioned. Obviously not a traditional 20-goal striker like Norwood. But if you play him alongside Norwood in a 4-4-2, or let's say you play a 4-2-3-1 and have Hawkins on as the main number 9, he takes away so much space and is able to link up the play very well. He's a great player like that. In terms of last season, he got replaced by Ellis Harrison because, honestly, Ellis Harrison does everything that Hawkins can do, but he's more mobile and he's more clinical with his head. And those are the main things. So, strengths of the player, very good link-up play and hold-up play, like I mentioned. He's very good at receiving the ball, either from direct passing from the fullbacks or playing it short from the centre midfielder. And again, creating space is his main choice. And if you want to get James Norwood scoring goals, then you play someone like him with him in a partnership with a two. In terms of what he's not good at, his heading isn't very good. I think most of his heading isn't very good. A lot of headers over the bar. His mobility isn't very good, and the rest pulling up for fouls a lot. Because obviously, if centre halves double mark him, and obviously if he's spending most of his time tussling high up the pitch next to a centre half, he will give away a lot of fouls. And I think the main stat for me, if I had to pick one on Scout, he had three recoveries in the opposition penalty area per 90 minutes in every game on average. He's very good at, for example, if you're trying to high press and you're on top of the other team, Ollie Hawkins can get the ball back and pass the ball and link it to some of your other players, but don't expect him to score a hatful of goals. If he plays regularly and gets 10 goals, you're happy with that, in my opinion.
But I think sometimes, Freddie, you get strikers. I know strikers are judged by goals, but I think sometimes you have to look away from that. You've only got to look. I know this is making a. I'd say Olivier Giroud. When he played for France in the World Cup, he scored 0 goals. But look at the work that he'd done for Griezmann and Mbappe. He took a lot of players away to create the space for them. So I'd say let's look away from how many goals he scored and look at the work that he does for the team. Obviously, you've seen him play. I've only seen clips from his goals at Portsmouth. And he most of them you'd say were in the 6-yard box, weren't they? Really, I don't think he scored a goal on there that was outside the 6-yard box. No,
exactly. He's a sort of player to score those goals from inside the penalty area and tie up a centre half. That's exactly why you would play him. But yeah, if Lambert's looking at him to play him sometimes at centre half, I wouldn't bother personally. He filled in when Portsmouth had injuries at centre half and Kenny Jackett didn't know what his back four was, but you don't want him playing there regularly. More than likely, he's a very good squad player. He'll be under the salary cap, like you mentioned as well. I don't think it's a bad transfer at all. And the only reason why Portsmouth got rid of him is because, we got John Marcus and Ellis Harrison, and we only play one up front. So really, as a third, who are you going to employ as a third striker, aren't you?
So that makes sense. That was going to be my question to you, Freddie. Why, if you're giving him quite a nice little review now, why is Kenny Jackett getting rid?
Simply because Ellis Harrison could do everything that Hawkins can, but is more mobile and more clinical. Also doesn't get drawn up for fouls a lot. He's very good off the ball in terms of tussling with the centre half, but not fouling him. And yeah, I would prefer Harrison as a player, in my opinion. But if you do need a target man striker, Ollie Hawkins is a good option on the cheap. And depending on how Ipswich play, he's a solid option. But it's not going to be. I don't think people are going to be blown away by him. And also, he can take a good penalty as well.
Freddie? Would you prefer Brett Pittman?
Brett Pittman last season. The problem with him was I think this was 3 seasons ago in Kenny Jackett's first season, where he got Brett Pittman on a P. He scored 25 goals in the league, and the entire tactic was about feeding Brett Pittman, which, even though he scored 25 goals in that team, the rest of the team didn't go up to the same level, which is why Portsmouth didn't get in the playoffs that season. Now, I think, again, Brett Pittman can always score you goals. If he's in a one-on-one situation, I never doubt Brett Pittman won't score. But the problem is his mobility off the ball isn't very good. So sometimes, especially last season, either when he played up front or he played as a number 10, which he said he didn't mind doing, he was a passenger at times. So it depends what sort of striker you want. Do you want to pay a lot of money for Brett Pittman when you got someone like Norwood? Or do you want to pay a lot less money on Hawkins, have him as, and he wouldn't mind being a squad player either, whereas Brett would want to play every week, obviously.
Yeah. So what you're saying is in Hawkins, we shouldn't really be pumping it long to him. He's a tall guy, but good with his feet.
I think the reason why I wouldn't say pump it long to him all the time, and Portsmouth ran into this for the last 2 years, when you have a very tall striker up front, especially with one up front as well, the style of play just gets very one-dimensional, and teams can easily deal with that. You don't want to go back to Mick McCarthy Championship days, do you? Exactly. With Hawkins, I think he'd be great in a 4-4-2 with Norwood next to him. personally. I don't know how Ipswich play though. If it's a 4-2-3-1 or a.
I don't think Lambert does either, mate.
He played 4-4-2 mainly last year, didn't he? But then I think his preferred was to play 4-3-3. So in a 4.
We're hearing that, aren't we? We're hearing he might
4-3-3. So I think he'll just. I think to start off he'll be a squad player and he'll come off the bench, and he seems like a good option.
Depending on who your wingers are. Well, for example, with Portsmouth, we had the luxury of having Ronan Curtis and Jamal Lowe, both wingers who love to cut inside, create a load of space, very good at passing and very clinical as well. So if you have wingers or inside forwards like that, Ollie Hawkins is a decent fit, but it just depends how you use him. If for example, 2 seasons ago, Portsmouth in those playoffs, Ollie Hawkins wasn't the right striker in those playoffs, simply because the tactics just devolved to long balls from the fullback or the centre half. So it entirely links to style of play and how you get the best out of him. But as I would say, don't play him at centre half. He's not centre half as much as he said he would do.
I don't think he'd play there anyway, would he? He's only really in an emergency.
Yeah,
but I think he covers. Like I said, he's probably handy in the salary cap. He can play there if required. So we've got enough players in that position anyway. You could have a couple out injured. He could slip in for a game or two, but like you say, you wouldn't want to play him there.